If you have $30,000 to $55,000 and you want a 360 horsepower, 5-cylinder, manual-only AWD coupe that Audi almost didn't sell in America, the Mk2 TTRS is the rare modern Audi the enthusiasts had to beg for. But here's why it's a maybe. Welcome back to Buy or Buy, the channel that breaks down every known problem with used cars so you don't waste your money.
Here's the roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to rigorously evaluate the 8 chassis across 5 distinct categories: who this car is for, where it shines, where it disappoints, the numbers that matter, and finally, our verdict.
All right, Section 1, who this car is actually for. And let me be clear, we are talking directly to the hardcore 5-cylinder devotee who has capital ready to deploy.
Look, casual buyers, they simply do not look here. If you're seriously considering this, you are specifically cross-shopping very precise chassis codes. You're weighing it against the rear-wheel drive inline-6 manual BMW 1M Coupe, the mid-engine Porsche Cayman 987.2, or maybe the modern BMW M2 F87 competition. You might even be eyeing its own siblings, right? The modern Mk3 TTRS from 2018 to 2022, or the modern RS3. But you are evaluating the Mk2 because you specifically demand US-spec manual-only purity. You value the all-wheel drive security and that unmistakable 1980s Quattro rally heritage over traditional rear-wheel drive dynamics.
Bottom line, the Mk2 TTRS buyer is hunting for a hyper-specific slice of Audi heritage, and they are completely comfortable navigating the high-performance maintenance realities that come with it.
Let's move to Section 2, where it shines. We're jumping confidently into the raw performance data and the engineering specifics that make this HA chassis a genuine modern classic.
The absolute superstar here is what sits underneath the hood. We're talking about the 2.5-liter TFSI inline-five engine, specifically the CEPA engine code. This powertrain single-handedly revived Audi's 1980s Quattro rally heritage in a modern turbocharged package. It pumps out an incredibly stout 360 horsepower between 5,500 and 6,500 RPM, and 343 pound-feet of torque from 1,650 all the way to 5,400 RPM. This exact CEPA architecture is so brilliantly engineered that it essentially became the beating heart of the modern RS3. And it delivers all that thrust with a 5-cylinder soundtrack that is just unmistakable.
And man, is it keepable. It hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in a blistering 3.6 seconds, utilizing that standard Quattro all-wheel drive to aggressively launch off the line. But here is the absolute best part. While Europe got the option of the 7-speed S-tronic dual-clutch transmission, Audi completely refused to import it for North America. That executive decision effectively forced every single US-bound car to be a 6-speed stick-shift coupe. It's literally a purist's dream.
Now, this exclusivity, it wasn't an accident. This car originally wasn't planned for US sale at all. The global market had it rolling out of Györ, Hungary starting in 2009, but it took an intense, highly organized Bring the TTRS to America online petition from enthusiasts to finally convince Audi of America to bring it over. Because of that direct enthusiast action, they only imported approximately 1,200 units across just 2 model years, 2012 and 2013. Every single one is a direct result of buyers literally begging for it.
Bottom line, every US Mk2 TTRS is a manual coupe-only success story, backed by quantifiable performance wins and serious enthusiast pedigree. Which brings us to Section 3, where it disappoints. It's time to put on our cynical master technician hats, tear down the romanticism for a minute, and look at the harsh dollar-sign realities of specialist repair costs. First up is the universal reality of the 2.5 TFSI direct injection design. Because fuel doesn't wash over the intake valves like it does in older port-injected engines, PCV oil vapor rapidly bakes onto them, coating those intake valves in thick carbon. This mandates a walnut blasting service every 60,000 to 80,000 miles, without fail. You need to budget $1,000 to $1,500 for this right off the bat. If you're looking at cars without recent walnut blast records, you're essentially buying a rough idling, underperforming headache. Now pay very close attention here because this is where wallets go to die. On early build cars, specifically some 2010 to 2012 production VINs, the rear of engine timing chain tensioner is a known failure point. And let me emphasize rear of engine, because it's shoved right up against the firewall. Replacing it requires a massive, labor-intensive engine-out repair. You are looking at a bill that's going to run you $4,000 to $6,000 or more. Mandatory inspection or service receipts proving this was handled are non-negotiable. Do not buy one blind hoping for the best. And sadly, the cascading specialist costs certainly don't stop there.
Neglect the fluid in the electronic Haldex all-wheel drive coupling, and the pump will inevitably fail, costing you $1,000 to $1,800 to fix. Those fancy optional magnetic ride adaptive dampers, they weep and leak with age, running $800 to $1,200 per corner to replace. Throw in incredibly fragile aluminum body panels that dent if you look at them wrong, and a wildly dated MMI infotainment system, and you must expect an annual specialist maintenance bill of $1,500 to $2,500. Taking this to a dedicated Audi specialist is absolutely mandatory.
Bottom line, skipping maintenance on a CEPA engine turns a bargain supercar into an absolute financial nightmare.
Section 4. The numbers that matter. Let's dive straight into the highly specific market data, production stats, and current valuations, minus the generic automotive fluff. Just look at the sheer physics at play here. You've got a glorious 7,000 RPM redline and a 174 mile/hour top speed if the car was optioned with the Vmax delete from the factory. And all of that thrust is moving a relatively light 3,300-pound 8J coupe chassis. It makes for an incredibly effective power-to-weight ratio that still embarrasses modern sports cars today.
So, what does all this cost you today? Well, the original US MRP was approximately $56,820 back in 2012. Today, solid driver quality examples with 60,000 to 100,000 miles trade between $30,000 and $45,000. For clean, low-mileage examples, you're looking at $40,000 to $55,000. Yes, the Mk2 AS successor exists for model years 2018 through 2022, and yeah, it's objectively faster, but it completely lacks the manual gearbox. That missing third pedal is exactly what keeps these older Mk2 values so exceptionally strong.
And if you are hunting for peak collector value, the paint code matters immensely in the Audi world. The community is fiercely loyal to specific heritage colors. Collectors will readily pay the absolute top of the market, sometimes ignoring mileage entirely, for pristine examples finished in either sepang blue pearl effect or Suzuka gray.
Bottom line, buyers are paying a heavy premium today for the extreme exclusivity of that tiny 1,200-unit US allocation.
Verdict? The Mk2 TTRS is a niche enthusiast unicorn with undeniable appreciation potential, which is why it earns a solid maybe.
You should really only consider buying this vehicle if you are specifically collecting niche, manual-only Audis, and you have the liquid budget for a clean, low-mileage car, even if that means paying 30% above the standard market rate. It really is an amazing way to experience that manual-only, all-wheel drive magic and the authentic heritage of the Quattro rally cars.
But here is the mandatory condition. I want you to vigorously say bye to every single car on the market that lacks timing chain inspection paperwork and recent walnut blasting receipts. You also need a full, documented Audi specialist service history. It's simply too much financial risk to take on a complex, high-strung German car with a questionable background.
So we leave it at a maybe. The legendary 5-cylinder soundtrack and the györ Hungary heritage are absolutely intoxicating. But with the scattered parts support for what was essentially just a 2-year US run, you have to ask yourself, is this piece of enthusiast petition history truly worth the $55,000 gamble? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.